So I guess we'll be starting. Let's get some housekeeping in order to do so. As we said, we're supposed to be 5 in the panel today. I'm actually not the moderator, not the chair, but I'm one of the speakers. But my name is Garrett Edwards, Mr. Edwards, whichever one you want to choose. So right now it's only 2 of us. It's supposed to be around 20 minutes each. We'll probably go a little longer if we don't see anyone else coming for their presentations. So we'll get started. So my presentation today is called "Is Minority Report Really the Future? Musings on Transparency and Accountability of Algorithmic Regulation." As you can see in the next slide, it was supposed to be 20 minutes. We'll see whether it runs around that time or where we go a little longer. I'll start my stopwatch. My name is Garrett Edwards, pleased to be here at La Sapienza. It's really a pleasure. L'Italia è sempre una seconda casa per me. Io ho fatto il mio dottorato qui a Pisa, alla Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna. So now in English, but as I said, Italy is really a second home to me, so it's really a really big pleasure to be here today with you all. This is a shorter version of some of the things that I have been researching at my time at the London School of Economics at Sant'Anna in Pisa. As you can see today, this is a roadmap that we have ahead. We have an introduction, we have some past and current critiques regarding AI, some musings on IP, intellectual property and AI, and then we will see through the examples right at the end that AI is literally everywhere and that will be good food for thought when it comes to discussion, when it comes to debate, and when it comes to actually seeing all the things that AI is provoking right now. And then by the end, some preliminary conclusions and some time for Q&A. We'll see whether we do that in order or whether we do that at the end. We'll decide when we get there. Okay, so some examples that I guess we are all getting tired of seeing, but they all keep appearing. So AI and the Internet of Things is literally everywhere. You can see it in your fridges, the ones that may have some kind of refrigerator with a screen. You can see it if you're using Google Home, or if you are using Siri, or if you are using whichever version of AI assistance and aid in your houses. You can see it when you're using Netflix and it recommends what kinds of movies or TV shows might be of interest. You can see with the obligatory ChatGPT question, which is the kind of example that is going to grow old really fast. There you have it, me asking ChatGPT, how would a perfect talk title "Is Minority Report Really the Future? Musings on Transparency and Accountability of Algorithmic Regulation" be? And you can see recommendations there. Let me assure you that I did this myself. So this example is growing old. We're going to just get to the tip of the iceberg today. As you can see, we don't have not nearly enough time to go through it all. And let's start with some critiques, because criticism is always a constant. It is always the constant. We are suffering from the ruinous competition of a rival who apparently works under conditions so far superior to our own that he is flooding the domestic market with it at an incredibly low price. For the moment he appears, our sales cease. All the consumers turn to him. And I'm going to ask you, and of course it is captious, when do you think this was said? Yesterday, 10 years ago, 100 years ago? Because it seems like a kind of critique that you would read nowadays in any newspaper, right? About AI, about technology. The thing is, this was said by Frédéric Bastiat in 1845 in a satiric and ironic little piece of text, which was what was called the Candle Maker's Petition. There you can see the little fragments that I took off, because the rival was for the production of light, and that rival was none other than the sun. As you can see, people complain about technology and about progress all the time. It doesn't matter when we try to look for example. We had the discussion on light bulbs against candles. We had the discussion of the sun. There you have Mr. Burns and The Simpsons. We even had in Spain a tax on sun energy, right? It only lasted from 2015 to 2018, but that definitely existed, it happened at one point. We even had a discussion on horses and automobiles. Maybe you're aware that back when we had the first 4 automobile, in some places in the US, cars were not allowed to go faster than horses. So you have to remember that that's why we still measure things in horsepower. That's why the comparison started. Maybe some of you saw Dune, the movie, which originally was a book. There you have it, Frank Herbert's Dune from 1965, which had, this is going to be a spoiler, although it's probably not that important. Dune, who has seen Dune here? Okay, some people have seen Dune. Who has read Dune? Okay, perfect. So the thing is, Dune does not take place in the past, even though it might seem like it. It actually takes place in the future, in the far future, in their own universe, right? And in that future, they might not seem that technological, but the truth is, they were actually quite technological. That's why they are worried about technology and about what we would call now AI. That's why you have in one of their main religious texts, which is called the Orange Catholic Bible, this premise: thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a man's mind. They were worried about it. We should be too, I guess. There are some things that we should probably all know about. I will not delve into them because we wouldn't get enough time for all the other things that I want to tell you, but we have to know algorithms, we have to know about some differences and discussions on whether we should call it artificial intelligence vis-a-vis human intelligence. We have the discussion, the historical discussions on the Turing test. I always recommend, even though it's not about that exact part of Turing's life, the imitation game, which you probably have seen or probably heard about it with Benedict Cumberbatch. You have this discussion on whether some person is going to be able to showcase the differences between interacting with the machine, interacting with the computer, and interacting with a human being, and whether you can realize the difference or not. We also get this one, which is quite important nowadays, I guess, because it showcases as well the discussion regarding how LLMs, large language models, work, because we get John Searle's Chinese room example. Have you heard about the Chinese room example? Have you all heard about it? Some of you have. For the ones who hasn't heard about it. So we get this example where you have this room, this big box, where a person is inputting Chinese characters, and there's a person inside there with a big book that showcases and tries to connect those characters to the ones in another language, let's say for example English, and in the output you get those characters transliterated in order to get an answer, right? So the question that John Searle posed was whether the person in there actually understood Chinese when doing so, or was just replicating and just allocating those characters to the allotted response in there. And he argued that computers work the same way, that they didn't actually understand what was going on in them, they were just following directions without actually understanding what they were doing inside of them. Then we had Arthur Samuel on chess, we had machine learning, deep learning, so we're getting all these concepts that are necessary in order for us to understand the discussion. Even big data appears, right? So we have all these big new words which may actually not be that new, but that are necessary in order for us to understand what's happening. We have had several reports as well, these are from 2023 and some from 2024, where it comes to how AI is going to be meddling with the labor work and the labor force. We have the World Economic Forum, we have McKinsey, we have Goldman Sachs, just to make it shorter and just for us all to be on the same page. No one is actually quite sure how it's going to affect, in the sense that some say it's going to destroy jobs, some say it's going to create new jobs, and there's going to be an equilibrium between that. Let's get it in the midst of everything, right? So this AI thing, it did not start with ChatGPT, even though some people might think it started in December 2022. And to be honest, it really did get a lot of traction, it really did get a lot of attention after December 2022. But and it used to be a little more abstract before that, but this has been a thing that has been going on for a long time, for a really, really long time. The first of these examples, which is actually quite boring, and I guess that people are tired of seeing it, but when you have to do a recap, you have to put it. That's called the next Rembrandt, and that's not actually a Rembrandt. I mean, have you heard about this one? Okay, so you all know Rembrandt, right? The painter, perfect. That one we know. So a group of scientists, led by Google, got together, and they said, we want to make a new Rembrandt. So they scanned all the ones that they had, and then they checked all the parameters, and they decided which ones were the ones that appeared the most, and they realized that they used to be portraits of men with beards, with some kind of particular lighting, and then that was the design that they ended up getting, and that design they ended up also getting done physically, not just digitally. But that's like a new thing, that's like in the last 10 years. Before that, in 1973, Harold Cohen created a machine that was able to paint in his style. That was in the 70s, right? It was a machine, it was limited, it could only do it in the way that Cohen had prepared it for it to do it. But in the 2000s, we even had Paul, which was created by Patrick Tressett. You have the picture there, which is used for making portraits with a mechanical hand. The discussion there started appearing, so what are the limits to what we can do with machines? Can machines do things that they were not prepared for them to do? This is just a famous case. Have you heard about the monkey selfie? Okay, so this happened a couple of years ago. An important photographer went to the jungle. He had set up his camera to take pictures of some macaques there in the jungle, some monkeys. He left the camera there. Naruto, that's the name of the monkey, approached the camera, grabbed the camera was pointing at the monkey, and started pushing and pulling the trigger, and it started taking pictures. This is important because you're thinking, okay, we were talking about machines, why are we talking about a monkey, why are we talking about something that is not human but that is alive, right? So those pictures, that's the most famous one, the monkey selfie, it ended up being published in a book in San Francisco, California, like a year later. And the photographer said, come on, I took that picture. So he sued the publisher in the States, in the United States. They ended up saying that only humans could be authors, only humans could be deemed authors of creative works. And since the monkey was the one who had actually taken the picture, then there was no author and then it belonged in the public domain. This is a good precedent for the discussion on IP and AI. So we're getting examples every day. I mean, you get the Secret Invasions, Marvel's Secret Invasions opening credit done by AI. You get Avengers director Joe Russo saying that AI is going to be making movies in 2 years' time. That actually was said over a year and a half ago, so we still have like another semester to check whether that happens. If you watched Black Mirror, then you saw that that idea had actually taken place, because you get that episode where Netflix is making TV shows that are tailor-made for the characters in that TV show. We could be here all day long just going through examples. You get Pixar using AI for Elemental. You got the Bills using AI for Now and Then, even though Paul McCartney had to go on the record saying that it was not done by AI, but AI actually helped in the process in cleaning the old tracks so they could get John Lennon for that song. Even in current movies, the other one actually you don't recommend it, it's actually quite bad. I watched it, so you don't have to watch it, Late Night with the Devil. We had the question on authorship, rights ownership, as I said. I always like that meme, I made this, you made this, I made this now because no one can check it. You get different answers in different countries, in different jurisdictions. You get the one that I already told you about in the United States of America. Only human authors can be deemed authors, so you get no AI, you get no animals, you get no God, I'm kidding. You have some old case where someone said that they had written their book because there was some kind of divine intervention, so they said public domain. So no God writing and publishing books and getting authorship rights. You also get the EU, which with the AI Act, which actually does not say a lot about the things that we're discussing right now because they took a long time to get it done. And then we get the UK, the United Kingdom, when then in the 1980s they had the CDPA, which is their legislation when it comes to copyright law and intellectual property, where they had computer-generated works. That was the phrase that they coined, which meant that you got a legal fiction times someone that made the necessary arrangements for that creation to be existing. And then you get some other kinds of discussions, work for hire, there you have Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man sadly does not get a lot of credit for that, at least not money, although he has passed away, we have to remember. Patents is another different discussion, I will not go through that, just for you to take it into account that there's a discussion of patents as well, not just copyright law. We get IP infringement. This is how it works. You know how has anyone used ChatGPT? Who has used it? Everyone has used it. Okay, perfect. Does everybody know how it works? Okay, perfect. All of you know? Okay. So you understand that you get a system that needs data, that needs information, that needs to be trained, that needs to be fed. And in order for it to be fed, in this case, you get this little nice example with a small kitten, right? So you get this picture. This picture gets, we're talking about stable diffusion, okay? One of the possible options when it comes to different algorithms that can be used for training and for using these kinds of applications. So you get this original picture, noise gets added in order for it to model, in order for it not to be understood. And once you get to the other side, all you have is noise, and the algorithm has the job of reenacting and reworking from that noise a cat, a small kitten in this case. You get all kinds of data sets. You can search on Google, and you can even learn, and you can even teach your AI how to pour water in a glass. I mean, figure. IP infringement, some examples there. There you get Getty Images with Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur and the discussion of where it was recreated or not. You get Superman doing the groceries, you get Pikachu at a bar, you get Balenciaga and Star Wars, all these kinds of things that have been taking place. You get some exceptions, right? In the USA, the fair use doctrine. In the UK, the ad hoc exception that allows data mining for non-commercial research uses. At least those are the ones that are being used right now when it comes to the discussions. And we had a discussion that went public last year. We had a discussion that went public. It went public because of the writer's strike, of the actor's strike. We had a discussion where AI could create things that were deemed worthy, right? And not just when it came to a legal sense, but also in an artistic sense, which are completely different things. I mean, we are in a philosophy congress. We could be discussing the aesthetics of AI generated works, but we could also be discussing the legal aspects. We could also be discussing the philosophical legal aspects. But as you can see, this is an ongoing discussion which has a lot of detractors as well as a lot of people pushing for it. We even had people asking for a global AI moratorium, meaning people were asking, not a few, quite a lot of people were asking for things to stop at a halt, which of course was not going to happen. Generative AI is everywhere. I come from Argentina, so this is Javier Milei. This is Argentina's president. You probably have heard of him. If not, you can just Google him. The thing is, and you can see it from abroad, he likes using generative AI when it comes to political discussion. The example on the right, which you can see there, which comes from Javier Milei's Instagram, his official Instagram, was a picture that he used of mice, and those mice were actually in Congress. They were supposed to be senators. I'm not kidding you. This is something that the president of Argentina uploaded to his official feed. And since they were voting to raise their salaries, senators, of course, were voting to raise their own salaries. One of them, as you can see there, he's raising his hand, but he's like kind of timid. That's supposed to be one senator called Martin Lustó, right? That was the president using generative AI just to get some example there and some discussion going. So it's taking place, it's being used, it's being deployed as we speak. Artists are also reacting to this. Just some example. I mean, Tom Hanks in favor of AI being used, his likeness being used. If you watch later this year, his latest movie with Robert Zemeckis from Back to the Future, he will be de-aged throughout the whole movie. So he's quite aware of how things work. You get Billie Eilish and Nicki Minaj saying that they don't want their music to be used with AI. You get Grimes, I don't know Grimes, but it seems that it's something in the UK. Grimes saying, I'm okay just as long as you pay me. So it figures, I mean, it works that way. And you even get Stephen King saying that he's surprised that his books were being used to train AI. And he said that he actually didn't care. I mean, people read them anyway. I recently interviewed Emmanuel Diaz. He's the main screenwriter for El Encargado, The Boss, which is one of the Disney Plus main TV shows right now. You can watch it on Disney Plus. It's quite good with Guillermo Francella. And I asked him about AI, and he said that he wasn't worried because AI was still not writing as well as they were writing, as human beings were writing. So you get a discussion on the quality, on the aesthetic quality of what's being produced. We already know that things are being produced. We already know that there are things done by AI. The discussion is whether, if you come from a philosophical and aesthetic point of view, where they are worthy, where they are of good quality, where they are something that you want to consume, or whether it's something that merits legal protection, as you can see. Are we asking the right questions, though, when it comes to this discussion? Bryan Cranston, great actor, he was against, for example, Breaking Bad, for those who know him. So we have a discussion on jobs versus economic implications in this. As you can see, Ubisoft, for the ones who have played Assassin's Creed, or for the ones who have played Rainbow Six, they said that they are using different levels of AI and that they are experimenting with the technology. You get studios like Disney that they are hiring AI specialists. You even get some kinds of new job descriptions. AI prompt animator, AI prompt engineer. Instead of just hiring someone that's going to animate something, they are starting to hire people that are going to write the prompts, the directions for those AIs to produce the things that they produce. They always say technology is coming for us lawyers. I'm a lawyer, of course. Yet it hasn't happened. To be honest, I don't think it will, but that's just because us lawyers always find a way of being needed, not because there are things that could be done better. Lawsuits are incoming. You see a lot of them, mostly in the States. We are starting to see some changes. Getty Images promises it's not using copyrighted art. You get some content warnings when you want to do something that is against the terms of the platform. You start seeing some rulings from China on the right, from Czechia on the left. One is on copyright infringement, the other one is on no protection when it comes to the prompts and when it comes to the creations being done by machines. This is the first European case. There has been no other ruling so far. It was quite short because they only discussed whether the prompt that the plaintiff was presenting was enough for it to be considered something original. It wasn't considered original. We are getting closer to the end. We have some regulatory attempts. I will not bore you with them. They are quite long when it comes to that. But we get the UK, after Brexit, they are trying to push their own agenda. I don't think that will actually happen within the Labour Party right now because they actually excluded those things when they did their presentation earlier this year. We have the AI Act in the European Union. We get the United States of America where Joe Biden, before he relented his run for presidency, he had said that they were going to push an AI Bill of Rights, quote unquote, that's what he called it, even though I don't think we'll end up getting any kind of discussion for the rest of the year, 2024 being an electoral year. Let's not forget Argentina. I mean, I'm from Argentina. I have to tell you something from Argentina. So don't bother about checking what we have been doing in Argentina about it. That's my recommendation for today. We are still quite far behind on it, all the kinds of things that have been proposed. I mean, they would make you laugh if you read them, that's all I'm going to tell you. So, right at the final sprint, as I said, Minority Report was in the title. Literature, science fiction, fantasy, they have all been worried for quite some time when it comes to AI. You can see the Terminator there with Schwarzenegger, you can see Ex Machina with Vikander, you can see Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, you can see Westworld with Rachel Wood, you can see artificial intelligence with Spielberg thanks to Stanley Kubrick, and you can see Minority Report there. As you can see, fiction has been worried about what's coming ahead for the longest time. Whether you believe that those things are going to end up being that way, or where you think that they're going to be different, that's on the eye of the beholder. I mean, we all probably have our own opinions on whether this kind of speculative fiction is going to be useful or not. I always think that discussion and sparking discussion has a place, and see how things actually end up being in the real world. There you have Joaquin Phoenix on Hair, the 2013 movie by Spike Jonze, where he falls in love with an AI that has the voice of Scarlett Johansson. Yes, I mean that's like the first 10 minutes. If you haven't watched the war, it's not spoiler, kind of spoiler. OpenAI called Scarlett Johansson and asked her, "Would you be the voice for our new version of ChatGPT?" And she said no. They ended up using a someone that sounded like Scarlett Johansson, so she sued them, and now you kind of get the voice that sounds a little bit like Scarlett Johansson. These are some examples that you probably have seen. So an AI was trained in order to differentiate between huskies and wolves, right? It ended up making mistakes from time to time, and the discussion went on whether it could tell the difference between a husky and a wolf, between a dog and a wolf, or whether it could only tell the difference between the picture of a dog and a wolf. Nobody knew, because they were actually quite scared of using it in the real and physical world. Emmanuel Macron, France, this was an old one, this is a nice one. As you can see, we get a lot of things to cover, and we are just right at the end. So, Google, this is actually being translated. My fellow Americans instead of mes chers compatriotes, so there's some kind of bias there working when it comes to how to translate compatriots. Microsoft thinks it should be Americans. I mean, there you get who actually devised that translation device. So AI is everywhere, I told you, right? And we're seeing examples that you may not be that worried about, because we just saw, I mean, it's just being translated. It's just some picture of a dog and a wolf. Stanford said AI is nearly as good as your dermatologist, right? You get clinical versus mechanical predictions there, and you get some statistics. See, algorithms are doing better than human doctors when it comes to checking things on our skin. We even get machine bias when it comes to criminal law, as I said. This is Compass. Have you heard about Compass? Perfect. Correctional offender management providing for alternative sanctions. This happened in the United States of America. You had an AI, an algorithm that was used to check whether someone was more prone to committing crimes. So they went to court and they used the algorithm, and then they decided what the level of risk was, whether it was low risk or high risk. So you had Vernon Prater, whose prior offenses were 2 armed robberies, 1 attempted armed robbery, and then you have Brisha Boren. This is like a main example of how Compass worked. Prior offenses, 4 juvenile misdemeanors. Boren was considered high risk. Prater was considered low risk, 3. Prater left court without spending a single day in jail. Boren went to jail afterwards, right? Prater ended up committing 1 grand theft auto afterwards, whereas Boren did not commit any subsequent offense. The discussion went on whether the algorithm had something to do with her being a woman or her being black. they ended up discontinuing Compass afterwards because, as you can see, the results were not good. But you probably wonder, okay, perfect. These kind of things, they happen to people who commit crimes, these kind of things happen in examples, these kind of things are far away, why should we worry about them? It's just, you use Google and you get gender stereotypes, for example, searching for CEO or searching for doctor. Google has been trying to fix this. I mean, if you search now, you probably will not run into this kind of examples nowadays. But if you use Google in Italy, for example, in Italia, if you search for cane, you'll probably get either a cane or you'll probably get a dog, because sometimes the algorithm is not as good at checking those differences. Okay, you're saying these examples, who cares about these examples, right? I mean, care about these examples. In the States, who has a smartwatch here? Okay, some of you do. You all know how they work, right? Perfect. In the States, this happened a couple of years ago. One company gave Fitbits, that's why I am using Fitbit there, I'm not using an Apple Watch in the picture, to their employees. And they started checking all their private data. So this company, knew when their female employees were pregnant, even before they were pregnant. Of course, this ended up being a big lawsuit back there because it dealt with intimate and private information. Back to the pandemic, in 2020, you had the A levels in the UK, those exams that students are supposed to take when they finish high school there. They couldn't take those exams in person in 2020. You had Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister back then. They decided to just choose the results according to an algorithm. No one was happy with the results. Not the teachers, not the students, not the parents. Boris Johnson ended up saying, it's a mutant algorithm. We don't know how it works. Quite calming to hear the Prime Minister saying that they don't know how the algorithm that they are deploying works. You even get Houston Federation of Teachers. That's a seminal case in the States, where they used an algorithm to decide the different rankings for teachers. Raises, salaries, promotions, sanctions. It was a private company, nobody knew how it worked. They ended up not using it anymore. This continues, this discussion that continues. So this is my last take, okay? This is not a thing from the future. This is a thing that has been taking place for a long time now. This is not an abstract discussion. This is not a thing that we should just discuss for entertainment, even though it is entertaining. This is a thing that we have to get on now. Not just, I mean, because when I criticized Argentina, I said, okay, don't bother reading. Argentina's recommended legislation is just these bullet points. These bullet points are a starting point. They are not an end point. We have to discuss on how we arrive to trustworthy AI, because it deals with everything that we will be doing for decades to come. So what did we talk about today? There you have it. Thank you for your attention. It's been a pleasure.